sorry that was how your like last couple of days.
Yeah,
went.
that was our Sunday and Monday. Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, I've started the recording, so technically we're into the
Hi,
the episode
everyone.
now. So hello
Welcome.
everyone. I don't know how much sync talk I'm going to leave on the end of this.
We're just talking about sinks. Don't worry about it.
Welcome to Behind the Locked Doors, a conference call masquerading as a podcast where we try to peer pressure each other into doing the creative projects that would often be put into the back burner. I am Scott Paladin, and I am working on a mildly horny and very strange werewolf noir audio drama called It Takes a Wolf.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm working on S1E12, which is a spinoff of Unspeakable Distance. Again, this week, didn't do a whole lot of actual work on that, but I had other things that I did. I know you did stuff this time.
Yeah. So, as a quick aside, we don't have Sam today. It's possible they might jump in. It's very mysterious. Hopefully maybe they're off having an adventure in a parallel universe, and they've been isekai'd into a fantasy world or something. Yeah.
God, I wish that were me.
With a harem of horny anime girls.
Sign me up.
So you didn't do a whole lot over the last
Well, here's what I did. I signed a lease.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, yeah, that's right. You were house hunting.
Yes,
so.
I signed a lease, and I made another round of edits on my finale stuff for Breathing Space. So I've been doing things, but not in S1E12.
Yeah. That's fine. I got like one of my segments written.
I loved your one segment that I've seen.
Oh, good.
What a banger.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah.
I hope everybody, hey, Breathing Space fans, I hope you're all ready for some peak content in this season finale, because we are all bringing our absolute gayest game to you.
It's possibly the most indulgent finale,
as it should be. Like, yeah, it's the series finale. It's not just this season. This is the moment to like bring our fucking fanfic. Fest.
It's not the I was gonna say it's not like a often our finales are very crescendo-y of like big action. We're gonna change the world and all this, and this feels much more like let's finally do all of the gay ass bullshit that we've been like putting off because that's not a whole episode.
There's like other big events happening. We're like, well, the gay shit can wait till later. It's later. Yeah. Later is now. Now is the moment.
So I got that written, and then I last time I was just about to do office hours, which was an interesting experiment.
Oh yeah, how'd it go?
It went pretty well. I had some people jump in and off, and then like Jordan jumped in for most of it and was just sort of sitting there. It was very quiet. I was not getting a ton of feedback from people, but the very presence of like knowing that somebody at any moment might be looking over my shoulder definitely reduces the urge to like alt tab to a browser window and like look at YouTube shorts for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I did get a fair amount done on that thing, and then I had been. Since then, got nothing. I hadn't even touched it. I hadn't even opened the document since then. And I as of like yesterday afternoon, I was actually feeling really bad because I hadn't made any progress in like 2 weeks. And so I was like, okay, well, let's just buckle down and like force myself through force of will to just stare at this document yesterday evening. And I got another like 1,500 words done. So it's not, episode 2 is not done, but it is like pretty much the bulk of it. I think I've gotten
well underway. Yeah, it is funny that like and I do this too, where when you have a time set that someone's going to look at the progress of the thing that you're making, and you haven't touched that thing since the last time somebody looked, and then you're like, okay, well, I have 19 hours between right now and when someone's eyeballs are going to be on me about this. Let's see what I can produce in 19 hours. Like, that's so real, and that's why we are doing this podcast.
Oh yeah. It's about forcing ourselves to have motivation about things, because
it's about the peer pressure, literally.
Yeah. It's weird. The process. I've been writing Breathing Space for so long now that I was really used to how to write a Breathing Space episode. Like I could, in fact, interestingly, like I don't rewrite on Breathing Space almost at all. Pretty much like I will restart episodes if they're not working. Yeah. But once I bang something out, I typically just like go straight to final draft. I usually do a bunch of churning in my head. And this has been so much not that process. Like that, this has been like a 180 from that, where I've been constantly churning on this stuff. And I know what I've written that I'm going to have to go in and add additional. I'm going to have to do revisions on what I've got. I know the structure's there, but like, it is so hard for me to be like funny in the moment, and some of the characters need to be kind of like, especially the fool needs to be sort of playful and jokey, and that's not something that I do. I apparently first draft me just doesn't do that, so I already know that I have to go in and revise that character, and so with that in mind, I'm like, oh, this is it's so weird because I thought I had a process in place, but it turns out I only have a process in place for this other property
for
that
like
I've
a
been
different
on.
type
Yeah.
of creative thing. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, not even a type of creative thing, but a different like story structure.
Yeah, and the difference between anthology and like a larger story, it definitely is making a change there. And then also just like I don't know, like something about the structure of like, oh, I'm going to write a standalone, 30-minute thing. My brain can just like fucking do that, and like I don't need to like hold all the pieces in my head. Whereas like, oh, well, like an 8 to 10 episode overarching thing with a plot, and like it's all got to come together in many characters, like that naturally it makes sense why that would be harder to do in a single go.
Right.
But I'm not used to it. I'm always surprised by it. I'm like, oh yeah, well,
it's like, why is this so hard? Well, because it's harder. Like,
yeah, it's all, and it also you just requires different muscles and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
Now
I wish Sam were here because he could probably talk about the like long haul versus the sprint of like writing a whole novel versus a short story or novella or something.
But, yeah. It's funny that the noir genre is something that I keep coming back to, and I keep I did some in Breathing Space. My unpublished novel is a fantasy noir, stuff like that. It's something that I kept coming back to, and I was wondering why, considering that it had not previously been a genre I was well read in. That like it was something that I just kind of gravitated to. But I've gone back and started to actually reread Raymond Chandler novels. Not read for the first time a bunch of Raymond Chandler novels, and I'm like, oh, there's a reason why I gravitated to it. I fucking love this shit. It's awesome. But it was weird to like realize. You reminded me. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been like doing this for like 15 years, despite the fact that this wasn't like a thing that I spent a lot of time. Like it's not something I mostly listen to other or read other genres. This is my first time sort of dipping my toes in there.
That's interesting. There must be like something in it that spoke to you even before you like knew a whole lot about it or had experienced a lot of it. Like
at least in written form. I guess I'd watched a bunch of movies and stuff like that, and so it was maybe that's where I was pulling more from the cinematic version of noir.
Are you like a OG? Oh my god, my brain is a soup today. What's the name of the movie?
It could be anything.
It could be any.
What is the name
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Are you an OG Blade Runner?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's one of, I mean, possibly my favorite movie of all time.
Okay. Well, I think we've just figured we've sleuthed it out in that case.
Yeah, that's probably true. Also, I mean, for that matter, Do Androids Dream of an Electric Sheep is also one of my. It's not one of those. It's another one. It's one of those books. Philip K. Dick is such a weird fucking author.
Oh my god!
Because
Scott, oh my god, I read this book finally after having seen the movie ages and ages ago. And being like, oh, I'm actually curious to see like how the adaptation was. Like, what was the book like? It's so different.
It's kind of not an adaptation.
No, it's like almost a whole different fucking thing where some of the characters' names are the same.
And some of the concepts and ideas and themes are still being brought over, but a lot of them aren't. And Philip K. Dick he's such a weird. I'm not sure he's one of my favorite writers, but he's definitely one of the writers I think about his work the most because he's so buck wild, and he was just like, I don't want to say he was like a creative genius. He was just completely unhinged. Like,
unhinged for sure.
Legitimately like kind of delusional, and that seeped into his work in very interesting ways. So like I think about Do Androids Dream of an Electric Sheep like all the fucking time.
When I finally read that book after like so many years of meaning to read it and having seen the movie and been like, I should find that book and read it. I was like, I need to talk to someone about this immediately because it's like so bonkers, and like the places where it differs from the movie adaptation are like so like the stuff that was cut from the book is so interesting, and it's interesting that that's the stuff that was cut versus the stuff that they kept, and like the setting differences, like it's almost a totally different setting. It's not cyberpunk really in the book. It's like a post-apocalyptic setting.
Yeah,
it's so strange.
It's way more post-apocalyptic. You're right. It's a much darker, dirtier setting with a lot of
and emptier. like nobody's
empty.
there. That was the thing that really surprised me on reading the book.
You're right.
like,
Everybody's left. Is kind of the thing.
Earth is abandoned, basically. There's almost no one left living on it. And I was like, this is making me nuts. I need to talk to someone so bad. And luckily, my wife had read it, so I could talk to her. But I was like, whose podcast can I go on and talk about this book? Because I'm losing my mind.
I should probably reread it. I haven't read it in a long time. The thing about that book is that that Philip K. Dick threw so much shit at the wall in that book that just like it is jam-packed with interesting ideas that he doesn't. I'm not going to say he doesn't spend a long time on them, because he does spend a long time on them. But like there's almost no normalcy in that book. Like everything is
so hard to figure out what the baseline is, because on the one hand there's this whole empathy box, whatever, which isn't in the movie at all.
No, the entire Mercerism religion's gone, and like the thing where like his Decker's wife who's not a character in the movie is like addicted to a emotion box that like gives her emotions, and that like she doesn't have any of her own anymore. It just like turns these things on and off. So, whereas he like is much more involved with the empathy box, where he like grabs the handles of this box and he hallucinates himself being a man climbing a hill while demons throw rocks at his head. Like it's a whole like
it's bonkers.
And there's also the subplot about like, because the eponymous electric sheep is a literal electric sheep.
Yeah,
like
there's a whole like livestock scarcity thing going on. Oh my god, it's so bonkers.
Yeah, but the things that are in the movie are also mostly like those concepts are also in the book. There's the whole subplot about Isidore, the guy who like has his little electric friends, and the androids like staying with him for a little while, and then like the whole idea of like, is Deckard actually an android or not? Is there in the book? Like it's a real question you can be asking about that character as well, including a section where he finds like an entire police station full of androids who don't know they're androids, but they think they're police officers hunting other androids. Like fucking wild ass shit. And it's just like, and that's the whole book, like wall to wall, just wild ass shit.
Wild shit. And there's the whole like trans panic like section where he sleeps with the android woman, and it's like, I want to kill her, but I want to be with her. Like trigger warning. Like it's genuinely like kind of upsetting. But I was just like, I have to talk to someone about this.
It's one of those pieces of media that like, there's a phrase I've been thinking about as I've been working on the other podcast, Let's Get Weird About, because I've often had a real struggle trying to talk with people and get them to understand what I'm looking for, which is that I'm not really looking for like your favorite media. I'm not looking for like the thing that you think is the best. I'm looking for the thing that you can't fucking stop talking about. Like even if you hate it, but like if you have so many thoughts about it, and like trying to come up with a phrase that I can use to describe that. The one that I keep coming back to is the idea of like a brain burr. If you think of like a burr, which is like a thing that gets stuck in your clothing and you have to like dig it out. Something like that, where it's like something that just like you like see it does something and you're like, this is interesting. I can't say that it's good,
but it won't leave you alone.
But it definitely makes me fucking think. And if that's the goal, then it did its job perfectly. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is that for sure. And then like Blade Runner is like is what happens when somebody gets one of those burrs in their brain and has to like churn on it and make it into something. Like I have a hard time, I'm not gonna say I have a hard time criticizing that movie, but like that's another movie that like I love it so much that like I have a hard time learning how to do interesting things from it, because watching it, I might only learn how to make Blade Runner, and somebody already fucking made Blade Runner,
and they did a good job making Blade Runner.
It's a fantastic movie. It's really interesting to watch. I need to do like, it probably wouldn't be a single day, but I'd love to do a marathon where I watch the multiple different versions of Blade Runner, like within a span of a week or so, because they're so wildly different from like the original cut with the narration to the first director's cut to the final cut. Like,
whoa, wait, there's a cut with the narration in?
Yeah.
Yo,
so,
I didn't know about that.
No, the studio mandated that. They thought that it was too inexplicable. They didn't like, people were going to get fucking lost, and so they came in and they had Harrison Ford do a bunch of like noir private detective narration.
That's so sick. Hold on, I love that.
Like, it's weird because it
does it work on the one when you like hear it?
Kind of. So like. There's actually like a lot of people like will malign the narration cut because it doesn't leave like it doesn't sit in the world and just sort of like a lot of that movie is just sit like
It's
watching
vibes.
this.
It's all vibes.
Yeah, it's all vibes. It's just like watching like silent images as like Deckard moves through the world and like kind of living in this space and being very slow and contemplative.
Which rules.
And this,
like,
yeah,
that really works.
Yeah. This spends more time like explaining itself and like being explicit about things, which can be good, but also it's just super different. The one thing that really fails though is that Harrison Ford is so incredibly checked out for the narration.
Oh my
like
God.
because he came in fucking months later
Right.
to do this, and they had to bang it out in like a weekend or something like that. And so
God.
he's not living in that space the way that like he was when he was performing Deckard. So the actual performance of his narration leaves a lot to be desired.
Harrison Ford, not an audio drama actor.
No, well, and like Harrison Ford is the kind he's such a good actor when he wants to be a good actor.
Well, and he's like a very physical actor, I feel like he lives in a part with his whole body in a way that it's very hard to do when you're just in front of a microphone.
Yeah, but I also say is he's at that point, even I think by that point I think he'd already been in Star Wars, and at some point in that little arc, he got fuck you money, and it was no longer possible to like pay him to be enthusiastic about things anymore. And I think that might have been like he liked the movie, and they called him back in for this extra thing, and he's like, I already fucking did this shit. I'm not like,
God, why do I have to do this?
I'm not gonna put my whole ass into this thing. I'm just gonna like do the bare minimum.
Right.
And that's kind of what it reads like.
That's too
but
bad.
yeah, it is a really interesting document that because like that's one of those movies like which version is the real version is a huge debate that people have, and it's interesting to see how something gets revised and worked on.
Well, and I didn't even know that this cut existed with the extra narration, and I think it probably could have been done in a way that was really convincing and like fun and noir, but it sounds like that's not what they did.
If it had been, I think if the movie had been built with that in mind, then it makes sense. But it hadn't been. It was tacked on at the last minute, and like. Yeah, again, and I don't think, and the director didn't want it, and the actor who's performing it didn't want to do it. So like nobody really gave that idea a chance.
That's too bad.
So, but I mean, like that. Yeah, that's what happens. The studio says, "Oh no, you have to add to this now. We're gonna like make you do it." Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. I'd love to. Do you know about fan edits for movies?
Wait. You mean like when a fan is like, I'm gonna fix this, and they like
yeah, they literally like take the movie and they like
just,
do their best
it, basically
to recut it. Yeah, so like some of them are really experimental. Like there's like the movie Memento, which is
like, I need to watch that movie.
It's fine. I don't think it's nearly as revolutionary as people. It made a huge impact at the time. I think it's aged kind of poorly because it started. It was revolutionary, and then people have sort of iterated on some stuff in it, anyway. But very famously, it's out of order. Like the chronologically last scene is the first thing you see, and then it moves backwards in time. And so there is a fan edit out there where somebody just reversed all of that, and like you literally watch it through in chronological order. The order and things happen, and some of that's just like, let's see what happens when we do this. And sometimes it's like a fan obsessively being like, there's a good movie in here somewhere. Let me find it.
You need to do this with Sucker Punch.
I've thought about it. It sounds like fucking Zack Snyder wants to do it with Sucker Punch too.
Unfortunately, it sounds like Zack Snyder wants to do it with Sucker Punch. Let him do it.
Yeah, please don't. There's one that I really want to do, which is The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Okay,
the Disney movie. I wonder if there's a Gargoyles free cut of movie of that in there somewhere.
Oh, where the gargoyles are removed completely.
You just remove as much of those gargoyles as possible and just cut that, because I think if you dropped that one aspect, that movie just becomes a straight up serious drama. Like it's no longer
the gargoyles are the only comic relief, basically.
Yeah, and that like how much like if you just like that movie is so dark and so like trying to be a grown up movie in so many ways. That's true. And then just has this one dumb shit in it that like really doesn't work. As a there are adult themes in other Disney movies, but their kid stuff.
Hunchback of Notre Dame is like on a whole different like tick on the scale of like adult themes in a children's animated film, though. Like,
the villain song in that one is like a psychosexual drama.
It's the horniest shit you'll ever see. Yeah, and I'm like, they put this in a Disney movie. Yeah, it's crazy.
and that was the same era when I think it was within a year or two of The Prince of Egypt, which was doing the same sort of thing, where like they were like animated movies were thinking to themselves, hey, what if we were actually for adults as well here in
Right,
America?
right.
And it was because, and part of that was because, in my interpretation, Beauty and the Beast came really close to winning Best Picture, just
Oh,
straight up
wow.
Best Picture. And that was before animated picture existed, and it lost out that year. But so I think all the studios looked at it and like, well, we could win Best
we
Picture.
Could be serious about this,
Yeah.
actually.
And then instead, the Academy went in and made Best Animated Feature, which meant essentially like the kids' table for Oscars.
That's such a bummer,
right? And so like there's an alternate timeline out there where like Disney and Pixar and stuff like that became serious like adult movie, like just a broad audience, not for kids.
What an interesting timeline to live in that would be.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you want to see what that looks like, go to Japan, because they never had that problem. Like, their shit was, if anything, it was like specifically for adults, more than it was for kids. Especially if you look at like the OVAs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is a podcast where we're supposed to be talking about our projects, and so we're just like shitting about.
We're just like, movie adaptations, blah blah blah. I was gonna bring up the Rogue Cut. Have I talked about the Rogue Cut on this podcast yet? Oh my god!
No, I don't even put the Rogue Cut.
Okay, so
you have to define for me.
There is a movie called X-Men: Days of Future Past. Is it good? Okay. No, it is not. However, there's a worse version called the Rogue Cut that exists that I have now watched because I found it on Blu-ray in a random like secondhand video store in my college town, and was like, wait a minute, I like Rogue. Is she in this movie more in this cut? Let's buy it and watch it and find out. Yes, she's in the movie more. It's worse because she's in the movie more. This is one of the rare instances in which I think cutting something that I would have otherwise liked was the right move, because I like Rogue, but they don't let her do anything in the Rogue Cut. Like, she's just on screen for longer.
Weird.
And like not in a way that matters really.
Yeah. So it's just like an object. Like, they didn't have the bones there to like actually.
Here's all that they had. There's not actually that much of a change to the way that the actual movie plays out, like the original or the final version of it.
Sure.
But there's a sequence in that movie where the superheroes are breaking into this high security prison to rescue Magneto and get him out of prison so that he can help them. And in the Rogue Cut, they intercut that sequence. I believe it's that same sequence. They parallel intercut it with in the future, the same, like, Magneto and Charles breaking into this futuristic prison to rescue Rogue and get her out of prison. And that could have been cool if then it mattered that Rogue had been broken out of prison, but then she just doesn't do anything having been broken out of prison. So it's like, okay, I see why they cut this. It was like a sick idea to have these two like prison breaks happening simultaneously, but then they just didn't do anything with it whatsoever. But unfortunately, I really love that movie, even though it is not very good.
There's almost a zero correlation between something being like quote unquote good and whether or not you're going to like it and enjoy it or whatever. It's possible to really love and enjoy and spend a lot of time interacting with something that is like objectively and like on its merits bad. Like, that's fine. Like,
X-Men First Class is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I don't know what that says about me other than that I'm gay, maybe. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's also the thing of like, when you see a movie makes a huge impact on whether or not it's good or not to you. Like, and whether or not
my God, that's so true.
Like I know that there's a huge population of people now who look back at the Star Wars prequels and are like, oh my God, like these are, masterpieces of their own right and they're amazing and all these things. And I don't
think those movies are masterpieces, but I do love them.
Or they love them. Like, or like, okay, well, they're trash, but they're my trash, right?
Yeah. And I love to eat this particular garbage. What can I say?
And I lived through the release and I'm still, I'm an old school Star Wars fan. So like I am still salty about, the what George did to my childhood, right? Like,
sure.
Like, but I fully submit that, if I had been 15 years younger, 16 years younger, or whatever, like that those would have hit me at the right age to be like, oh no, this is fucking, this is like, Yeah.
Yeah, can confirm. I'm about 10 years younger than Scott.
Yeah.
I saw the Phantom Menace in the first movie I ever saw in a movie theater, like an actual movie theater, was the Phantom Menace, and I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
And it altered my brain chemistry permanently at 6 years old.
Yeah.
And I have nothing to say for myself now when I talk about Star Wars, other than, unfortunately, I saw Phantom Menace in the theater when I was 6 years old, and it did this to me.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, if it had not been Star Wars, if it had been its own thing, I think I could have judged it more fairly. But it is, those movies are so tonally and visually different from the original trilogy.
It is vastly tonally different. Well, and I had seen, at 6 years old, I think I had seen at least the first of the original Star Wars films as well. I'd seen A New Hope on VHS in my parents' living room or whatever. And I definitely remember thinking, like, okay, I can see why my parents like this. This is like movies for grown-ups. And then I went and saw Phantom Menace, and I was like, this is for me. This movie was made for me, and I'm 6 years old. And that is kind of what the movie feels like, is it was made for someone who's 6 years old.
Yeah. Which is just such an interesting choice to have, because now they wouldn't, like, if you're and they did remake or make more Star Wars movies, and like the
right, they did make more I was like, wait.
Yeah, they did.
And I hated them.
the traditional maneuver now, like the sort of how you remake an old series or reboot or recontinue or whatever, is that if the audience has grown up, then you need to grow your series up as well. That, like, you don't take a series that was made for kids in the 1980s and then, like, make that now straight. You have to, like, make that for adults now, because the people who were kids then are adults now, and you're tapping into the same audience. And for George Lucas to be like, no, Star Wars was for kids in the 1970s, it'll be for kids now too in the 1980s or 1990s, and like, that is, I can't say this. I did not enjoy that maneuver because I was no longer,
because you were not the 6-year-old in the theater,
because he was making for an audience that I was not a part of.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's a baller move to just be like, no, I know what this series is, and I'm going to fucking do it.
Yeah, like, I could say so many things about George Lucas, the guy, but, like, he had the conviction, right, of like, okay, I know who I want to make this for, and he wasn't going to have his mind changed about that.
Well, and like, it's this may be a bad characterization, because on the one hand, I totally agree with you. He's like, it is for kids. We're making it for kids. Here's the vision that I've played out. And then, that being said, he also was like a very, very rich man who was running many companies and and was legendary in the series. And so I've seen, whenever I see the behind the scenes stuff from those movies, whenever you see him on set, there's just a little bit of a hint of the energy of like, this is good, right, guys? Like, you're gonna tell me if this is bad. Like, this
oh my
is
god,
good. Like,
like,
we're all on the
from
same
what
page.
I know,
and everybody around him is like, oh no, it's amazing. Like no, he needed some person to just be like, no, dude, that sucked.
Well, I think it was his ex-wife who ended up, like, making the original movies actually make sense in the edit. But the point is, like, everything I've heard about him is that he was very like sort of crazed genius about the whole thing, where he was like, oh my god, I have this incredible vision, and then he would go through bouts of like, okay, I actually don't know if this is anything, like the way that we talk about basically every time we come on here, like when you're making something and you can't tell if it's good or not. It sounds like that was basically every time he made a movie, he was going, I actually don't know if this is good or not. And a lot of times it wasn't, but, you know, he made something.
Yeah. Well, and like, there always needs to be some version of another person, and sometimes that is you transplaced in time. But there's another version, either an actual other person or you at a later date who goes back and looks at something and says, oh no, this is something. Oh no, this isn't something. Because it's, when you're living in the thick of it, is almost impossible to know, like, properly, oh, is this does this line work? Is this character likable?
Yeah.
You know,
when you're in there, forest, trees, oh my God, you can't tell.
Yeah. And it's so hard to differentiate, like, what's living in your head in the way that it sounds versus the way it actually is on the page versus like what you were thinking about in the shower earlier that day when you're like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. And so sometimes, you know, in a big collaborative thing like a movie, you just have to rely on like the people around you to be like, yeah, I know this is working, no, it's not working. But then, like, when we're working on a solo project, sometimes that comes back to be like you to be like 3 weeks later or whatever to go back and read it and go, oh no, this still slaps or whatever, or
Right.
no, I need to like fucking this doesn't work. This isn't anything. Let
But
me
then sometimes
rewrite
you
it
do
again.
need a like separate human person's
Oh yeah,
eyes on there, because they can be
oh yeah,
like, "Hey, this thing you thought wasn't working, I think it's working," or like
yeah.
this thing that you were like, "This slaps, I don't think it slaps."
Or just like, or like I'm lost. Like
Yeah, like
you did
help.
not.
Where am I?
I
What's
don't
happening?
have whatever information is in your head, friend. Can you please like I need the exposition, or I need the
Yeah,
character,
or like
whatever.
any amount of like grounding in what's going
Yeah,
on here. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So that there is that context, which thankfully I've got you and Sam. I can send this draft when I'm done out to, and
Yay.
you guys can be like, yeah, this works, or no, this isn't working, or
Uh-huh.
whatever. I I'm forcing myself to. I'm not going to do any like serious revisions on it. I'm just going to send you guys what I've got,
Mhm.
and then move on, because I want to have the whole thing together before I like spend a lot of like
Yeah.
if you spend all of your time like working over like one or two episodes, and then or chapters or whatever it is you're working on, and then you never get to that final. I need to get to the
Yeah.
home stretch, and then I can come back and make everything tie together and like work.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're gonna have to make edits on every episode, because this is a long, continuous story. Long, like a
Yeah.
many multi-episode continual storyline.
Yeah.
There are going to be like contiguity edits that you end up
Yeah.
having to do that are going to be so much easier to do if you already have the whole thing laid out
Yeah.
in front of you, and you can
Yeah.
just
Well,
sit on your living room floor with your sticky notes and like go back and make your
well, and also just like you discover things as you write, and so
Yeah.
you figure out who a character is, and you have to go back and adjust their voice and tone and themes, and like
right.
I have ideas about what this story is about, but I know from experience that like I'll get done and then I'll be like, oh no, it turns out it was actually about fucking trauma or something. I don't know.
Probably. Let's
yeah,
be
like
real.
it'll come back, and it'll be like, oh well, I thought this was a dissection of gender, and it probably will have some of that in there, but it'll probably be this whole other thing instead.
Well, here's the thing: it can't not be a gender's story, because of just the whole premise of it.
Yeah,
if you ask me. But there are probably going to be additional themes that emerge as you go along.
Yeah. Well, it's like, will that be like the driving force behind the story?
Right.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. There's definitely going to be some of that in there, but the tone will be assumed. One thing I'm still debating in my head is like I'm wondering when I need to find my first actor or two, because sometimes it's really helpful to know who you're the actual voice you're writing for, and the person who's going to play the fool and the intern when they're the internal voice as well. That's such an integral part to who the character is.
Oh,
like,
have you decided you're going to be the Beast?
Yeah. No, from moment one, I'm going to be narrator and Beast.
Okay.
And then I need a partner for in the script they're listed as the fool and the self.
The speaker out loud.
Yeah, the speaker out loud, and then when their voice becomes internal. So confusingly, one character one character, two actors, four names in the script.
Yeah.
But the like, for example, it took me I had to bang my head against myself because I could not commit to pronouns for the fool.
Oh, sure.
Like in my head, I'm like, I don't know if like, because there's certain times you want to like use a phrase like, can a guy get a break, right? Like
sure,
you just want to use it. But like if that character is being played by a cis woman, which would be rad, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know if that line works anymore, but sometimes, or if the person has an accent, or if that person is,
there's like characteristics about the voice that would help you write them easier the first time. You would have to do less like tweaking.
And sometimes that just develops over time. Sometimes that's something you can kind of revise into. Sometimes also a person, it's so funny. I when we've done casting in the past, I think I'm really going to have to do it differently this time, because every time I've done it in the past, it's been, hey, here are the sides, everybody. Will you just read them, and I'll just pick based off of voice. And I that leaves out such an important part of casting a role that I'd never, not that I never considered, but I'd never considered. If you'd asked me this straight out, I probably would have admitted it was important. But at the time, I didn't think about it, which is like, do you get along with the person? Are they interesting to work with?
Yeah.
And so,
you need
like,
a chemistry test.
a little bit. So I'm almost like, I'm probably going to do sides, and then I'm probably going to have to do interviews. Like I'm going to have to call people on Zoom.
Callbacks.
Yeah. Like, which is so weird. That's not how any of this is done. I haven't seen anybody else do that. Not that I'm saying that's not done, but rather that I haven't seen it done. So I don't have a model to follow.
I believe
but
it's done more often for like when people are casting for actual plays. Like I've
Oh,
done
yeah,
a
for sure.
callback type interview for an
Yeah.
actual play before where I didn't end up getting chosen, but
Yeah.
it was interesting to see the process where I filled out like a form or something.
Yeah.
I don't think I even had anywhere to like list like what my voice even sounded like, but I filled this whole form out, and then they contacted me like, hey, we like the information you've put down. Let's schedule a time to meet for an hour and like play a short game together, and we'll talk to you and like see if we like how you fit with the group.
I think that's how it's going to have to be. And I'm like, because especially for like my principal actors, except for the ones that I kind of know that I can cast blind. Like I know I can put Vic somewhere. Like
oh yeah,
like
put Vic wherever.
I know Vic.
But you know you like working with him.
But I know what it's like to work with Vic. I know what voices I don't know if I know his entire repertoire, but I know what kinds of voices he could do. It'll fit this character. And also that he'll probably enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
So I can kind of cast that blind, but some of the other principles, I'm just gonna have to be like, because I do want somebody who's an experienced and good actor and all that stuff, but I also, especially for the other main actor, because there's me and then there'll be the other person. Like the other person, if I get somebody who's not enthusiastic, then I'd rather take somebody who has less experience, was not my ideal pick in my brain for what the voice would sound like, but was enthusiastic, over somebody who is exactly what I was thinking it was, but that they're just like, are only gonna like, they won't respond to my texts, or they won't like get excited about the character and have some enthusiasm. Cause like, obviously I don't want to
who's gonna blorboify that bitch.
Yeah. Well, I want somebody with some passion. It makes the process, specifically for somebody I'm going to be working with as closely as that person I would have to, then like it makes a huge difference in how good the product is and how easy it is to produce. If the other person
and like,
is, like,
especially because of the volume of part that other person is going to be, and how close like your parts overlap with that person's parts the whole time. Like you're going to want to like working with that person.
And there's creative decisions that I'm playing with right now that would matter what the capability of the other person is. For example, like it's not out of the realm of possibility that the other actor, when they're playing the fool, might have an accent, but then not when they're the internal voice, because the fool is a part being played by the main character. Like they're putting on an act. So like to have that person, I don't know, play up a Southern accent, and then maybe the Beast does the same thing. And like, so then like we would both need to be able to do that in order to like make the switch. It's all stuff that I'm going to have to kind of play, because I'm doing something outside of my own comfort zone. I may have to sort of figure out. Okay. Spoiler alert, my boss is out today, so I don't have to be back on time.
Oh, funny.
So
I was looking at the clock with out of the corner of my eye, like usually Scott has to run back to work by now.
Yeah, we're just having an interesting conversation, and I guess I'm starved for human interaction. No, it's fine. But and this has all been very interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing is also, I don't know what to do.
Go on.
There's a thing in my brain, which is that I know there's going to be an episode down the line where there will be two characters having sex. I don't know if that shows up on screen or not. And I am interested in, like, it's one of those things where like people always ask, is like a sex scene ever part of the plot? And I'm like, yeah, in this scenario, it really might be. And I'm
a big advocate for plot integral sex scenes and non-plot integral sex scenes.
Yeah. I mean, like, and I am trying to, like, there is a certain kind of tonality that I am not a huge, I don't listen to a lot of other audio dramas, so I'm not a good idea of like what is actually out there in the space. Everything that I have been involved with has been quite chaste in that sense.
Yeah.
And I am sort of interested in pushing out and being a little bit less of that, because it's a part of the human condition and I'm interested in it. So,
and you're talking about werewolves, and that's an inherently horny concept. So
yeah. So like I'm interested in putting more of that in there. And but at the same time, like I am cognizant enough to be like, oh shit, if I'm going to like put a sex scene into this, I need to start like thinking about and putting into place things like safety concerns for my actors and me and all that stuff, where like everybody feels comfortable and safe and all that stuff. Yeah. So I'm like, geez, do I need to like hire an intimacy consultant for like
for my audio drama?
Yeah. I'm like, oh God,
maybe.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Or do I just like resort? If anybody knows about this shit, like, please point me in the right direction, because I'm like, I want to do this right. Yeah. That being said, of course, if The reason why I say that is because if I found somebody who was a really good match for that main actor who was really not comfortable with doing something like that, that might influence my decision, because I might write something to somebody, to their to what their comfort level. If I had somebody who was really enthusiastic and a good match in other ways, but didn't feel comfortable doing that, that might change what I write. I definitely don't want to like bring somebody in and be like, here you go, here's the thing that you're like labeled, like that you're married to, because I felt it was a good idea.
When you cast for that part, you may have to flag like right up at the top of the casting call, like you're gonna have to do a sex scene in this. It's going to be like decently explicit.
Yeah.
And that way people can kind of self-select around that.
Exactly. Yeah. Put some warning content. I mean, and putting content warnings is a thing you need to, that people should be doing in casting calls anyway. Yeah. Like 100%. But like, also, that's also part of the interview process, probably be like, okay, what is your comfort level? You know, what can we do to make sure this works for you and stuff like that is something I should be, maybe it's early to be thinking about that, but it's probably
I don't
not
think it is. I think this is
yeah.
the exact right moment to think about it, because it is something you're going to have to kind of think ahead on a decent amount. And I think it is admirable that you're thinking this far ahead on it, and I think that's going to really help your actors feel comfortable later on.
Yeah. Well, and like better to think about it ahead of time than to be blindsided by it. Because like, okay, I'm gonna be circumspect about the individuals involved, but we accidentally blindsided somebody on Breathing Space.
Oh
no. Me specifically. I wrote a thing, and it was one of those things, like we are really usually pretty good about putting content warnings on. And we found a loophole, which is returning actors. When somebody's going to come back for a part, it is we had not built in a mechanism in place to say, hey, I'm going to check in with you before I send you a script on something. And we had somebody who was we hit a topic that was not comfortable for them, which we like. It was one of those things, crap, if I had checked in earlier, I would have been happy fixing this, or at least giving them more time or more heads up, and get like, there are ways to fix about it. But because we do that, we normally had that as part of the onboarding process of like helping people select parts. We never had a mechanism in place to protect the people who like had already signed on, but not necessarily for like additional things. And so like, I honestly feel fucking terrible about it. Like it's one of those things, like if we had thought about it, we could have avoided it. So yeah, when in doubt, caution is the kind of thing, and being prepped, and like having a little bit of anxiety ahead of time and overthinking things a few months in advance is a much better cost to pay than to actually end up in a situation where you make somebody uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, you don't want to hurt somebody, and like because you've had all this experience on another show, I think you are uniquely primed to foresee those types of problems ahead of time and be like, hey, I already had this come up somewhere, so you know now to like work around it in advance.
Yeah. When you're making those kinds of changes, that like you need to keep everybody involved in the loop and all that stuff. So it's a whole it's a whole
thing, but it's very worth like doing it right and taking the steps to make sure it's done right.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to tell my mom not to listen to the whole project.
Like, hey, Mom, I know you like listening to Breathing Space, but don't listen to the Horny Werewolf Project, please.
No, I hope that the groundwork I've laid with the people I've been talking to, that I keep calling it a horny werewolf thing. I hope that nobody's going to be completely blindsided by the fact.
Yeah, you've said the words "horny werewolf project" enough times in public spaces now that I don't think anyone's going to be like, "Oh my God, there's a sex scene in this." In my horny werewolf project.
I want people to be like, oh no, that's the point.
Yeah, it's the horny werewolf project.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, we've gone extra long for one of our episodes. We'll go ahead and let the audience go, and let me get back to. I'll still be late back to lunch. I don't care. But nobody I work with knows about this podcast, so they want to. There's nobody can check up on me. So.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Before we do that, though, we'll check in on if we want to set some goals. Or publicly state. So how do you feel about that, Jack?
So before we record next, I'm going to make an actual effort to at least talk with Sam about some like character stuff for the next couple of our episodes, because we have some discussions to have about how the child is going to be written. And I fully did plan on getting to that in the last 2 weeks, and then instead I was house hunting, so I didn't. But I will try and actually do that before next time.
Awesome. I will there's a really good chance that I'll have episode 2 written this weekend. I have, because there's so little left, and I have momentum on it that I would really like to just have that done, and then I can send it out.
I want to see it. I'm so excited.
And then I had, because of there was a section in episode 2 that I was like, oh no, this is wrong. This is for episode 3. I've actually got a start on that, which is really nice. Like,
that's great.
It's kind of interesting to be like, oh yeah, well, I don't have to start from a blank page. I've got a thing that I can work
present
with.
for your future self.
Yeah. Which makes me think, I'm like, I wonder if I should just be like doing some of that more. I'm typically a very linear writer, but I'm like, I wonder if I should just like have documents ready to go for, all the way up through the rest of the season.
You need like a little folder, like a little dump folder for each episode that you can drop your pieces. That's really interesting. I know I'm letting you go, but that's interesting because I'm usually the complete opposite, where I write everything out of order. Like whatever part I think of, I hop ahead and I put it in there, and then I go back. So it's been really weird for audio drama trying to force myself to write linearly and make sure I hit like all the beats I want to hit in the order that they're going to be in, because that's so opposite my usual process.
That's fascinating. I like I said, I'm like super linear. Like one thing leads into another, and I have a hard time doing things like jumping ahead, jumping back, because I feel like, at least for me, I feel like if I jump ahead, I'm like, well, where am I? Like, I don't.
Where am I? What's happening?
Yeah, I feel so untethered in like the story and in space and in time that I'm like, well, I'll spend like. It's just like, it's like blank page all over again to me.
Interesting.
But that is maybe something that I could get over. I don't know. I have never really tried.
I don't know. I feel like it kind of depends on what you're writing. But like my second finale scene for Breathing Space, what I ended up doing, it was more of my usual process, where I wrote a bunch of little like niblets, little snippets of stuff, and they were totally all out of order. And I was like, okay, now I have to like sit on my floor with this puzzle and put all the pieces where they go, and like make sure they actually connect to each other at the beginning and the end of each of these little piees. And that's not how I've been writing stuff for audio dramas, but in this particular instance, I feel like it came out okay. But
that's it. That's fascinating. So you find it really easy to sort of generate these like context lists is maybe the right word, where like you're like, I have a little snippet here, I don't know where it fits yet, but I know that it's a puzzle piece that I want to use. You're
like, there's a little beat that I know I want to hit, and I can sort of massage the front and back end of it to flow from the last bit, depending on where I scooch it around in the final thing.
That's actually not a perspective. Framing it in that way of like, I'm gonna sort of build these little pieces. Did you find yourself using all of them, or did you end up cutting stuff?
I used a majority of them, but there were some that I cut just for length reasons that I was sad to leave behind, but I was we can't fucking fit more shit in here. Like, these are supposed to be short segments.
I mean, I wouldn't object to me, but like it's the season, or it's a series finale. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Tell you what, after you've looked at it, if you want to know what the bits were that I left on the cutting room floor, I will tell you them. But I was cutting for length at a point.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. Fascinating. Yeah. So, so I'm definitely going to get episode 2 done. Definitely. That's my short-term goal, and then I guess I'm gonna clog away at episode 3. I sort of have, I've over the last few months, I felt like I've been struggling with this project in a lot of ways, and part of that is maybe because my natural proclivities are not towards doing this kind of project where I'm going to be like doing everything in order, and so it means when I get stuck, and I don't have another thing. I don't have that ability to jump around. So maybe I should take a page out of your book and try your method a little bit.
If you hate it, you hate it, but there's no harm in trying,
this is an opportunity to be like, okay, rather than if my goal for the next 2 weeks, I will definitely get episode 2 done just so that I feel comfortable sending it out. And then if I can just generate some stuff, like some ideas and some scenes, like, okay, well, when the fool is talking to the scion, I want this to happen. And when the fool is talking to the fiend, I want this to happen. And when such and such is happening, like if I can just generate some of those ideas, maybe those give me target points or other frame of reference points where I can build, like it might give me the opportunity to jump around a little bit. I'm interested. I haven't, because that is not my proclivity. I'm now very interested in seeing what happens if I try to do it.
Here's what I'll say. If you have little buoys laid out for yourself along your big long string of empty documents, it might be easier to go swim to a buoy and cling to it for a second and build out around that a little bit. Sure. And then like go from where you started and meet up with it, than it would be to just leap into the blank middle of the thing.
It's really possible. It's so not what what I'm used to doing that if what I've been doing up until now hasn't been working super well, then like fuck it, let's try. Like fuck it, let's ball. Like
let's ball. What's stopping you? Nothing.
Nothing. Let's just do it. Okay, cool. Well, okay, so that's my goal. You're going to talk to Sam, and we will catch you. I'll catch you in the audience, and hopefully Sam back in 2 weeks.
Okay, perfect.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for Behind the Locked Doors, a library of cursed knowledge production podcast thing. I don't know. If you are interested in any of these projects, you can head over to library.horse, which will eventually redirect to a webpage once I make it, If you want to support the podcast, we do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/cursed knowledge. See y'all next week. No, wait. See y'all in 2 weeks.